All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we are back taking a look at the tropics. Today is Saturday, August 20th, 2022. This is your daily tropical update. Once again, in a video form, as we still have an active storm in the Atlantic Basin near shore. We have potential tropical cyclone 4 located in the southern Gulf of Mexico today, still churning towards the coastline of northern Mexico and extreme southern Texas. And that National Hurricane Center has also added a wave moving off of Africa today, part of this large monsoon trough that's all moving offshore. And this is something to watch in the next few days as well. We get to the heart of the season, we start seeing more of these waves leave Africa with a better chance to develop than they did in June and July. So we'll be watching that as well. So kind of a quick video here this morning. No major threats. PTC4 not a big substantial threat by any means. We're going to cover it real quick, and then the rest of your basin. Hurricane Center's 5-day outlook. Again, PTC4 down there, and then our wave off Africa with a 20% shot to develop in the next 5 days. So we'll start with PTC4. Still, of course, this silly moniker we used this morning at 11 a.m. Update just came out as we're recording. Maximum sustained winds remain near 35 miles an hour. That movement still to the northwest at 13 miles an hour. Tropical storm warnings are in effect for Port Mansfield, Texas, down to the border, Brownsville, Rio Grande River, and then also encompassing some portions of northern Mexico. The system has not dramatically changed overnight. The satellite presentation today still shows a kind of ragged, smaller tropical system. You have this high pressure belt off to the east, and this is producing strong southeast winds that are basically pushing this thing towards shore at a pretty good clip. I mean, it looks decently, healthy if you don't really know exactly what you're looking for. There's a lot of popcorn convection all throughout here, and the convection has remained impressive again today. We still have that cirrus outflow aloft in some of these quadrants, indicating the thunderstorms are strong that are forming, but dry air is a bit of an issue. We can see an arc cloud racing away from the storm here and here, indicating there's some dry air on the edge of these southeasterly winds that are probably impacting the storm to some degree. And these thunderstorms really haven't persisted that well, and it hasn't really been able to close itself off. This is an IR presentation, and it had some impressive convection earlier today. These blacks and whites down here, this is actually up shear to some degree. This is when we see the storms build back towards the direction of wind shear. So your mean winds are out of the southeast at a pretty good clip, and if your convection tries to build back, your thunderstorms build back towards that, typically that can be a sign of strengthening. However, with PTC4, it really hasn't done so. This kind of looks like an eye, but it's not. It's just a break in the clouds. So if you see that, it's not an eye or anything like that. It's definitely not an annular hurricane by any stretch. Hurricane hunters were in there this morning, and this is kind of the latest they found. And again, those belts are really strong southeast winds off well away from the center, which is somewhere over here. So your strongest winds are well displaced in the center, a classic sign of a struggling, not very well organized tropical system. This could have broadly been considered a closed low. You got your southeast winds here. You do have a northwest wind component here, and you have winds shifting out from the southwest, south, and then back to the southeast. So you could have broadly said this is a closed low, a broad closed low, but the Hurricane Center didn't see sufficient winds. Typically 5 knots or less. They're not going to consider that or classify that rather. So they didn't see this as enough evidence to become a tropical cyclone. So we still don't have what would be considered tropical storm Danielle, or at least tropical depression 4 yet. So Danielle or BTC4, whatever we're calling it, doesn't have a lot of time. GFS model here shows this pretty well. This is the 850 millibar flow, and this is set for this morning here. You can see here the GFS does see this as this kind of open wave, doesn't have the closed low, just kind of has an open trough axis along the edge of this belt of strong flow, and then it moves it into shore by this evening and has us ashore in northern Mexico and southern Texas by tonight. 0Z is like about 8 o'clock tonight. So that's lines up well with the Hurricane Center's latest track, 7 p.m. Saturday. They show that landfall. They still predict that it could become a tropical storm before landfall, but time is pretty limited for the storm. So if it's going to do so, it better get itself organized in a hurry and get that center of circulation consolidated. Really all it's missing. It has the wind speeds. It just doesn't have the organization. So regardless, not expecting much out of this. GFS also shows the moisture surge associated with this. This is set back to where we need to be earlier today. Big pocket of moisture associated with 99L, PTC4, whatever we're calling it. And then that moisture kind of moves into shore here and then gets wrapped up as we see this high kind of flatten out over the Gulf Coast. some of that moisture gets pushed into Mexico. Some gets wrapped up into the frontal boundary that drapes across the south central U.S., where a lot of rainfall is expected over the next week or so, showing the precipitation to come. This is loosely related to PTC 4. This is mostly just that frontal boundary, but something we've been talking about. A lot of rain for Texas, 2 to 4 inches for a lot of the state, and then parts around Dallas, Fort Worth, northeast Texas can be getting upwards of 8 to 10 inches of rainfall. This is going to be a problem for some for short term in terms of flooding. This is not, you don't want to see this much rain this fast, but you also have an exceptional drought going on, class 4 drought. This is the highest drought level you can possibly be in, and this is going to be directly over some of that exceptional drought, and will help to bust it quite a bit. Also getting some of those south and western counties in on it. They won't get as much rain, but they'll definitely get some rain to help that scorching, horrific summer they've had across Texas. One of the hottest summers they've had a very long time, probably since 1980. It's not been a picnic in Texas this year, and also parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and even parts of Mississippi may get in on that rainfall as well. So this is going to be a big boon for the region. We just got to watch out for that flash flooding. Otherwise, guys, not much else going on in the tropics as we've talked about. It is pretty dead. I mean, like I said yesterday, this looks more like June than freaking August. But we do have this pretty strong tropical wave leaving Africa today. This is all part of a bigger monsoon trough, and it's kind of messy. And you got a lot of dry air out ahead of it. It's a Saharan layer still coming in. This wave breaking pattern of consistent injections of waves moving in is pushing all this dry air down in, and it's keeping these waves from having a nice clean path to take across the Atlantic basin. So we'll see if this wave fares any better. It's much bigger than the other ones, and it looks like it may have a bit of a fighting chance. But these big waves, they typically take a while to spin up and organize, so it's not going to be anything in the short term. And again, Hurricane Center has this at a low 20% chance over the next 5 days to develop as it slowly moves across. But it's not going to be cruising too fast. Ensemble models, this is the European ensembles, do show some chance of development out here. It's kind of confusing, 2 different waves over the next 5 days. So it's why you see all these L's everywhere. But just the general consensus from the Euro is that, yes, we'll have something over here. And also both GFS and Euro indicating another shot of a little Western Caribbean thing later on in the week. So we'll be watching for that. It's that time of year where stuff can pop up almost anywhere. These waves kind of run around silently sometimes, and they find better respite over here on the western side of the basin, which is sometimes more favorable than the eastern side of the basin. So we're gonna watch all that, but it's nothing concerning right now. And definitely, if it were anything, it'd be many days. And I don't think these waves right now have a great chance to get all the way across as organized storms, because there's just simply too many openings in the eastern Atlantic for these waves to turn up and out to sea. So not worried about that by any means. It looks like we're going to be fairly quiet on the tropical front after PTC 4 for at least the next several days to come. Globally, not much else going on. Eastern Pacific has a low chance of formation for a wave well offshore. Fish storm, like most of these are. I think this is actually the remnants of Ivet. It could possibly reform. Um, you know, but no major threat to the eastern U.S. right now. And the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, tropical cyclone over eastern India, that moved to shore. Final warning been written on that. And we have 2 waves to watch out in the western Pacific, which has had a historically quiet season so far. We'll see if either of these waves can start to reverse that, but it doesn't appear they're going to be anytime too soon. So that's what I got for you guys today on your tropical update. As always, thanks for watching, and have a good one.